Hi Paul, thanks for having me back once again for another Cheltenham Festival preview. As always, it's a great pleasure. You know, over the years, it's so exciting. There's huge excitement and anticipation. You wait obviously all year round for this big week, and it seems to drag and drag and drag. But finally, we're here now. And all the questions will be answered in the coming days. And we're going to see some cracking races over the week, I'm sure of it. This will be my 20th year going to the festival. The only 3 years I've ever missed since I started going to Cheltenham was 1 year there was foot and mouth disease, obviously, which I couldn't go to, which the whole meeting was called off. There was another year that was obviously COVID, so it was behind closed doors. And then there was 1 year where I was poorly, where I couldn't make it. But other than that, I've been 20 years. This year will be my 20th year. So it's been so exciting. I'm looking forward to it. Once again, as always, there's some cracking racing, some cracking matches, some good champions coming back to defend their crowns, some horses looking to redeem themselves. And then you've obviously, like always, you've got these up-and-coming horses of the future that you're hoping can put together a sequence of wins and, you know, win these big races on this big stage and go on to be superstars. So yeah, there's a lot to look forward to this week. So we're gonna crack on anyway, and I'm going to give you my selections and thoughts during the week, and hopefully we can put people on to some winners. Right. First race is the Sky Bet Supreme Novices Hurdle, a grade 1 over 2 miles. What I'll do first of all is I'll give you my selections, and then I'll just briefly go through my thoughts on the race and why I've come up with my selection and why I might oppose something. So anyway, first of all, with the Sky Bet Supreme Novices Hurdle, I think it's a fascinating race because obviously all winter we've had a short priced favourite in Willie Mullins's Facile Vega, a horse that looked so good in bumpers last year, obviously winning at the Cheltenham Festival and then going on to back it up at the Punchestown Festival. The horse started the season on the right foot, winning two nice novice hurdles, both by, you know, a fair margin, looking pretty smooth in doing so. However, for me, it hasn't jumped slick enough to give me that kind of feeling that it's bomb-proof for this Supreme Novices Hurdle. It's certainly got the engine, I have no doubt about that, but I've just not been overly happy with the horse's technique or presentation towards the flights. You know, in previous years, we've had horses like Votor, Duvan, and both of them were lovely jumpers. And I always say, going to Cheltenham, or not just Cheltenham, but any race, you have to jump. If you don't jump slick, you don't jump smooth, more often than not, you come up short. So Facile Vega, for me, he is a horse with a huge engine, and obviously he's got a huge chance, but he has to jump better than he's jumped if he's going to win the Supreme on Tuesday. He was very disappointing last time at Dublin Racing Festival. I do totally agree that the pace early on in the race was too hot, far too hot. However, for me, he went out like a light too quickly. I truly understand that the pace was frantic, and you do not win races going at that kind of gallop, but he just emptied so quickly. And I know since then they've said there was a problem. He was slightly lame afterwards, so maybe that was an excuse. But whereas maybe before the Dublin Festival you was full of confidence, you're going to be going there now more hope than confidence. I think you'd probably agree with that. Obviously, High Definition from Joseph O'Brien's stable. He's a horse that had, he's high class on the flat. Once thought of a potential Derby horse. Didn't quite reach those heights, but high class nevertheless. And he won his novice hurdle debut in quite taking fashion, I'd say. And obviously, he then was thrown into the deep end at Leopardstown at the Dublin Racing Festival. And he was the horse that obviously took Facile Vega on in the early stages. And obviously he unseated pretty early on, so it was pretty difficult to get a true reflection on the horse's ability. So he's one that you're also going into Cheltenham with a little bit of unknown, with question mark surrounding him. Of the others, the horse that actually won the Dublin Racing Festival, Il LA Tomp. He was a horse like last season that ran, he ran just behind, I'll say just behind. He ran a few lengths behind Vauban, Field Door and the Pied Piper in the Triumph Hurdle. And it's quite surprising really that you would think that he'd be one of the market leaders for this year's Supreme after that, but he's not really done much wrong. He obviously was beaten quite convincingly by Facile Vega early in the season, but obviously come out and he did nothing wrong at Dublin Racing Festival. He let him get on with it early on. He jumped a lot better that day, and he finished off his race well. So while he's a fairly short price for the Supreme, he is a horse that seems to be improving with racing, and I couldn't totally write him off. Obviously his time stacked up well compared to the Irish Champion Hurdle on obviously the same card, so that's pretty positive. But obviously on all known form before that run, Facile Vega had the measure of him. So I think it all really revolves around what Facile Vega turns up. Of the others, obviously you could be here all day going through them, but one other one I'd mention, Marine Nationale. A very smart horse in bumpers. Won the Royal Bond, getting up late on ground that wasn't suitable. He's a horse that certainly would appreciate the better ground. However, I'm not quite sure he's going to get it, unfortunately, on Tuesday. We've had such a dry winter and start to the new year, and then all of a sudden we've had a bit of bad weather leading up to the festival in the last few days, and it looks like the ground's going to turn against him. I wouldn't totally rule him out, but it is a negative. But he's high class. He's a horse that travels well, and he's got a lot going for him, but maybe the ground's just a negative. He's one that you'd put in the mix, but again, it looks an open contest to me. One of I will mention from the English, because obviously I've gone through several of the Irish horses there. I like the horse Tamoras from the Paul Nicholls stable. Yes, he's a horse that might look like he's not quite got the quality of previous winners, but he is a horse that's been improving at a rate of knots. I watched him win at Wincanton, and then obviously he won last time in the Grade 1 Tolworth. Again, that was testing conditions that day, so conditions are not going to be a problem for him on Tuesday. He did show a lot of signs of inexperience, certainly when he got to the front, but the form's been boosted, and the horse does look open to progress. So he's probably the leading candidate, I'd say, from the English. Rare Edition's another one that looked pretty good earlier on in the season. Looked very good on Boxing Day at Kempton, but looked very disappointing last time at Huntingdon. It did come to light that it scoped badly since, but again, very negative going into the Supreme. You want to be coming into these races at the top of your game. Not many horses win the Supreme off a disappointing effort last time out. At the beginning of the season, I was pretty convinced that one of Facile Vega or Jet Powered would win this Supreme. And, you know, up until just before Christmas, it looked like they'd have it between them. But now it looks a real wide open renewal. If you're going to force me to pick one, I'm going to go with Facile Vega. Obviously more hopeful than confident, but we are really relying on a huge swing from that last race. You just got to hope that the horse is over the problem that was well documented after the race, and you got to hope that maybe a change of tactics, holding him up a little bit, will be the difference this time. So I'm going to go for Facile Vega, but it's a bit of a tentative selection. So yes, Facile Vega is my selection for the Supreme Novices Hurdle. Right then, on to the Sporting Life Arkle Chase, a grade 1 over 2 miles. For me, this is the most intriguing race of the week. It really is. At the end of last season, I was looking through horses for this year's novice chase division, horses that I thought would reach the top end of the spectrum. And John Bon, El Fabiola and Dysart Dynamo were the three horses that sprung to mind straight away. Obviously, John Bon and Dysart Dynamo both ran in last year's Supreme Novices Hurdle behind the mighty Constitution Hill. Obviously, Dysart Dynamo departed at the second last, and John Bon was runner-up that day, which is nothing to be ashamed of, obviously. While Al Fabiolo missed Cheltenham last season, but was a horse that was highly touted. And I think from an early stage, they always said this was going to be a horse for the future, a horse for this season. And up to now, it's looked to me, well, just not to me, but to everybody, that is a horse of the highest quality. And he's certainly going to pose a massive threat in this year's Arkle. Obviously, it's going to be a fairly small and select field this time. Just looking through the runners, for me, I'd be mighty surprised if anything other than these three horses, were there at the business end of the race. The only chance is Dysart Dynamo, and maybe, well, John Bon's obviously going to be the horse that has to follow him first. Maybe there's the thing that maybe they'll cut each other's throats up front a little bit and something will run on from the back. But even with that, I just think these three horses are head and shoulders above anything else in the lineup. If you asked me, who do I think is the one from the three? I've been with John Bon from the very beginning. I always felt whatever he did over hurdles would be a bonus. I always thought the Arkle was made for him. Obviously, Nicky Henderson, he seems to use that Supreme Novices Hurdle as a stepping stone for like his future Arkle horses. Obviously, horses like we've seen in the past, Altior, Shishkin, Sprinter Sacra, those kind of horses, they were good hurdlers, and then obviously they went chasing and they seem to excel from it. But yeah, John Bon would be my main selection. He he was impressive at Warwick in his first start when beating Montmoral. Obviously, he went to Sandown afterwards, and he beat Booth Hill in pretty decisive fashion. He just tend to get a little bit lazy, I'd say, around the pond fence. But, you know, when he was woken up, he quickened away nicely. There was plenty under the bonnet from as far as I could see. And I think similar happened last time when he went back to Warwick. Obviously, it was a 2-horse race. It was a funny run race. I think, personally, looking at it from the outside, I think, you know, jockey and horse thought it was just going to be a walk in the park. They were just going round at leisure. Obviously, then his opponent served it up to him down the back, and then he just caught John Bon off guard a little bit, and then he obviously had to be woken up. Just took him a little bit of a while to hit top gear, but then he got back on top again, and you know, at the line there was only one winner. So obviously it might look to be a little bit. There might be looked to some that there might be you know, a little bit of kink in John Bon, or maybe that he's not quite as bomb-proof as maybe he looked early in the season. But I'm for one certainly I'd forget that last run. These kind of things happen. I've seen them before, like over the years, where you get these funny races. But you know, John Bon's a horse that wants, you know, a fast gallop, doesn't want to be making its own run in. You know, wants a target, and Dysart Dynamo is likely to be the target. And I just think a truly run race will bring out the best in John Bon. So John Bon is my selection for the Arkle. If, you know, from the others, El Fabiolo would be the big danger. I can't say any more. He is a horse that he looked at Aintree in defeat. He ran a big race. That was only his second start over hurdles. He missed, I think it was the second last, if I can remember rightly. He didn't get the cleanest of passages, and he really rammed John Bon to the line. Obviously, on that day, there was nothing between them. Some will say, well, El Fabiolo didn't get the best of runs, John Bon did, but John Bon had the hard race at Cheltenham, so you can look at it two ways for me. They're both high class. Although I've gone with John Bon, I would not be surprised if El Fabiolo turned the form around. Some say El Fabiolo hit one fence, he'll hit two fences, but for me, you can't say that. Yeah, he was a little bit scrappy on his seasonal debut over fences, and yeah, he did hit one last time at the Dublin Racing Festival, but all in all, his jumping's not been too bad. I don't think it's been as bad as people are making out. And, you know, you're only going to improve with experience. And I think as El Fabiolo's career goes on, his jumping will improve. And even with me being in the John Bon camp, I'm not just thinking, El Fabiolo's going to hit one, John Bon's going to win. I don't look at it like that at all, because I know that El Fabiolo is not guaranteed to hit one. So whatever people say, you know, don't just rely on El Fabiolo hitting one if you're in the John Bon camp, because that might not well happen. Any horse can hit them. John Bon can hit one, you know. Dysart Dynamo can hit one. Anyone can hit one. But you can't just rely on a horse to hit one for your horse to come out on top. These are class horses, these two, and you know, it's going to be an intriguing matchup. But yeah, John Bon's the one for me. El Fabiolo will be the big danger of the field. And Dysart Dynamo, I'm a big fan of him too. At the beginning of the season, I thought him and John Bon would be a real matchup, and this race, but after watching the Dublin Racing Festival, I know it's a furlong or so shorter, but I still have this feeling that maybe he's just going to come up a little short again. Maybe he's just going to, his style of running I think his style of running just might set things up for John Bon and El Fabiolo. So, you know, if he gets on the front end, and well, he should get on the front end, but if he gets on that front end and he gets that little gap and then others behind just start making little niggly errors and he's jumping well, there is a chance he could get away. But all in all, I think they're going to keep tabs on him. And I think coming down the hill just before they swing in, I think the big two will have Dysart Dynamo in their sights. And I think it'll be a shootout between the big two. But I'm going to go with John Bon. He's been faultless over hurdles, other than the Supreme, but he still ran a big race. The pace was hot that day. Probably went a bit too hot with Dysart Dynamo, but still ran a big race. He's been pretty smart over fences so far, but I don't think we've seen the best of him yet. So John Bon is my selection for the Arkle. This is a race not to miss. This is going to be an absolute cracker. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the Arkle. So now we'll go on to the feature race on day one, the Unibet Champion Hurdle. I will start with no other than Constitution Hill, the #1 horse in training, the highest rated hurdler in training, the best hurdler since the turn of the millennium. This horse is going to line up on Tuesday and he will win the Champion Hurdle. Mark my words, this horse will win the Champion Hurdle. At the beginning, well, certainly at the end of last season, stroke beginning of this season, we was all hoping we would see the big clash. Constitution Hill versus the reigning champion Honeysuckle. Unfortunately, connections of Honeysuckle have swerved Constitution Hill. For me, the horse couldn't beat Constitution Hill anyway. Even the best Honeysuckle couldn't beat Constitution Hill. But even so, it's a disappointment she's not in the lineup. I always feel a reigning champion, and she's a two-time reigning champion. I just feel they should be in the lineup trying to defend their title. But obviously, they've seen Constitution Hill, and they don't want anything to do with him. They know how good he is. They know how good Honeysuckle is. They know that Honeysuckle's slightly on the decline, and they know they can't win. It's as simple as that. That is the reality of it. So she's obviously going to the mares, which is a bit of a disappointment, but, you know, good luck to her. Hopefully she runs a big race in her final race at Cheltenham. But yeah, back to the Champion Hurdle. Constitution Hill's the one. He was brilliant last season in the Supreme. Invincible is the word I'll use. This season, he went to Newcastle for the Fighting Fifth. Obviously, raced his stable companion. He was obviously withdrawn from Ascot a week earlier due to ground conditions being too quick. They hadn't had rain. They hadn't really had rain in the autumn or early winter, and it was a bit of a concern. So he missed Ascot, but he went straight to Newcastle to take on his stable companion in Epatante. He dismissed her at leisure, given her weight, and then obviously took her on again in Kempton over Christmas in the Christmas hurdle. And once again, it was same as always, smooth throughout the race, quickened well, fiddled the second last, but all in all, usual Constitution Hill performance. You know, moved away, quickened away, won nicely. Obviously, he's not ran since Christmas. It's not usually something that I like. I don't normally like a horse to be given a break between Christmas and Cheltenham. but obviously it has been done before. And to be honest with you, with this horse, I've got no worries. It don't matter what they do with this horse. This horse will beat these. As I said before, you know, I've been a huge fan of some of these past champions. Hurricane Flies, Fahines, Bouverdares, Annie Powers. I've been a big fan over the years of all these horses, but Constitution Hill's on another level to any of them. Absolutely different class. Absolutely different class, I'm telling you. I remember when I saw him at Sandown early on in his novice hurdle career. And I remember when he pulled him out and he jumped that last flight and he quickened away. I remember going to work that that following Monday, and I said to my mate, I've seen the Supreme Novices Hurdle winner. Funny enough, it was only a few weeks before I told him I've seen the Novice Hurdle winner in John Bon. I had to go back to my mates at work and I had to tell them all. I said, I know I told you boys John Bon was going to win the Supreme, but I have to tell you now, other people might not agree, but I have to tell you now, Constitution Hill is going to beat John Bon. It's going to absolutely destroy it. So anything you've got on John Bon, go and get it all on and more on Constitution Hill. This was when Constitution Hill was about 6-1 for the Supreme. I saw exactly what this horse was made of as soon as he won that race at Sandown. And then when he went and raced again in the Tolworth, and obviously he backed up that previous run, obviously then the cat was out of the bag. Everyone knew then that the horse was a real high-class horse, and it was just a matter, was he better than Dysart Dynamo? Obviously he's proved that he was, but you know, that I just remember going to work that morning and saying to my mates, I've seen the Supreme winner. And then obviously from then, obviously Cheltenham, I just said to him, when this wins the Supreme, just get on it for Cheltenham for the Champion Hurdle before it wins the Supreme, because it will win the Champion Hurdle. With average luck in running, it will win the Champion Hurdle. Obviously you have these things when, you know, things do go wrong in horse racing, but you know, with just average luck in running, nothing will go wrong for this horse. He'll have it up there. He'll have it up then first, you know, 2 or 3 positions. When they're coming downhill, he'll have it positioned nicely, and then the race will be done and dusted before he swung into the straight. I'm absolutely convinced. So just going on to the couple of the others in the race, because obviously it's not a race without opposition. So I'll just go through a little bit of the opposition. Not that there's many in it, but State Man, Willie Mullins, obviously he is the main rival for Constitution Hill. He won the County Hurdle last year off a nice weight. Done nothing wrong. You know, very smart horse in his own right. Last time he went and beat, obviously, Honeysuckle and Vauban in the Irish Champion Hurdle. Jumped a lot better last time than I've seen him jumping before. He jumped a bit high in previous runs, but jumped a lot slicker last time. And, you know, he's a smart horse, a nice horse. And, you know, he's a horse that, on all known form, he should finish second. But obviously, if he tries to serve it up to Constitution Hill, he could be in danger of giving second place away. So anybody thinking of doing forecasts, you just have to bear that in mind, how State Man's going to be ridden against Constitution Hill. Because if he really does try to serve it up to Constitution Hill, he could end up on the receiving end of an absolute barrage. So, you know, as good as State Man is, and I do hope he comes second to him because he's a good horse, but I just sometimes wonder how these races are going to be ridden. Sometimes you can cost yourself chance of second by trying to actually win the race. And I do think the horse should try and win the race, otherwise what's the point in being in the race? But it could just come unstuck by doing so. Vauban, obviously, he's got a little bit to find with State Man, but you'd think he'd be thereabouts, running for, you know, second or third again. Of the others, a lot of people like the look of I Like to Move It from the Twiston Davis stable. I think the horse is useful, but I think that race last time in the Kingwell at Wincanton, I think it was a weak race. I'll be honest with you. A couple of those horses that it was against, certainly Napper's Hill, did good start to the season, but they were lifeless at Wincanton. I Like to Move It was the best horse in the race on the day, but it was against weak opposition. I wouldn't take note of that Wincanton run at all. I think it's very deceiving, that race. So yeah, I wouldn't have I Like to Move It to finish in front of Stateman or Vauban really. But for me, Constitution Hill is the horse to watch. Even if you don't have a bet, just tune in to watch this horse, because I think we could be seeing I don't just think, I know we're seeing a superstar here, and hopefully we'll see a real top class devastating performance. So yeah, my selection for the Champion Hurdle, my nap selection of the week in fact, is Constitution Hill for the Champion Hurdle. He'll bring it home for Nico de Boinville, Nicky Henderson. Get the English off to a good start. Now onto the Close Brothers Mares Hurdle, a grade 1 over 2.5 miles. The mares race over the years, it might have been lacking in depth, but we have seen some real high class mares line up in the race, likes of Quavega, Vroom Vroom Mag, Annie Power, Honeysuckle, Benny de Joux. So there's been some real good ones line up in this over the years, and this year isn't an exception. We've got two previous champion hurdlers in the shape of Honeysuckle and Epatante, and then we've got some up and coming horses, the likes of Brandy Love and Love Envoy, and then obviously the anti-post favourite that looks so good in the Railkeel Hurdle, which has been a late switch from the Stayers Hurdle to Mares Hurdle in Marie's Rock. So yeah, the race on paper looks a real competitive race, and you know, you could seriously look at 4, 5, 6 of these horses and give them genuine chances. So I'll start with Honeysuckle. She's been a fantastic mare. She's obviously won 2 champion hurdles. She's at the age of 9 now, so it's pretty certain that all in all she's slightly on the decline, hence why I think Connections have opted to come here rather than go to the Champion Hurdle and take on Constitution Hill. She ran fair in last time out in the Irish Champion Hurdle, but she just didn't have the same spark to me, and for me it leaves question marks. I just wonder, although she did run well that day, I'm just wondering, will she decline a little bit more once again at Cheltenham this time round? It's hard to know, but it's just something I have a gut feeling on. Epatante, she's also 9. She's a horse that's, although she's won a champion hurdle, she's been a bit unlucky. She's come up twice against Honeysuckle in her prime and come up short. And then obviously this season she's run twice behind her stable companion Constitution Hill. Ran well both times, but just shows she's a level below that kind of calibre. Although last time at Doncaster in the grade 2, she looked very impressive. She travelled really well and quickened well. And of those 2 mares I've just mentioned, I do have a little feeling that Epatante might still have a bit more spark in her than Honeysuckle. But we'll find that out on Tuesday. Of the others, Brandy Love, she's obviously had a bit of a funny season. We didn't see her until a couple of weeks ago in the Quavega Mares Hurdle at Punchestown, where she finished behind Queen's Brook. She obviously looked good last season. Obviously, all things have not been well there. And I think they've rushed her a little bit to get here. She is a high-class mare, but I'm just wondering, it's a quick turnaround. She hasn't had the smoothest passages this season. So I think Brandy Love's one. I'll just swerve this time. But she is a smart horse, so you know, I wouldn't write her off, but for me, I'd look at others. A stable companion, Echoes of Rain. She's looked. She's been a bit of a free going horse in previous seasons, which might have been her downfall. But last time out, she won the Limestone Lad Hurdle at Naas, and she looked smart that day. To me, visually, that was the best she's looked so far, or certainly in the last, you know, couple of years. So she's coming into the race in good form, and she could be thereabouts, running for each way money. The two horses for me though in this race that will be my two selections, and one of them's a fair price actually, so you could probably back it each way. So I'll start with that one, Love Envoy. She's a 7-year-old. She loves soft ground. She's been faultless this season. The ground looks like it's going to be in her favour come the Tuesday, and she's still improving, I feel. I don't think she would beat Honeysuckle or Epatante at their best, but I don't feel they are at their best, and therefore I think Love Envoy is a horse to be on side here in this race. So she is going to be my each way selection in the race. My win selection in the race is going to be last year's winner, Marie's Rock. I think Marie's Rock, she's had issues in the past, but she's looked even better than ever this season. I was very impressed in the Rail Keel Hurdle. I just feel that she's a horse that won't mind the ground. She's got a nice turn of foot. The vibes from connections are she's been working really well. She's thriving on her running. She's won 5 races from her last 6, I think it is. She's coming into the race in top form, and I think she's the one to beat. So my win selection for the race is Marie's Rock. And I think Love Envoy, she's around the 8-1 mark. She would be my each way selection. But again, it's a cracking race. You know, I wouldn't put anybody off backing any of these horses, because it really is a wide open renewal. And as much as I'd like to see Honeysuckle and Epatante run big races, I do think there's question marks against them, even more so Honeysuckle. But you know, if she does win, I'm pretty sure the roof will come off Cheltenham. So yeah, it's a cracking race. You know, even if you're not having a bet in the race, just to watch, it's a cracking race. And you know, it'll be very interesting, to say the least. So yeah, that's my views on the Mares' Hurdle. Thank you very much. So I think I've wrapped up the main races on day one, the graded races, certainly. And I'm going to now give you my main selection for day one and my each way selection for day one. The main selection obviously being Constitution Hill. He's not going to make nobody rich that are backing him now, but he will win, and he is the banker of the week for me. And my each way selection on day one, I'm going to go for Love Envoy in the Mares' Hurdle. So those are my two selections on day one. Thanks, and I'll be back tomorrow.